What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. And this is actually second to last video I'm going to do before the draft. I'll be away for a little bit and then also working on some content for the website. But we'll be back the first week of May. Things are going to really start picking up after that. I believe it's still 3 videos a week in the first week of May. But then starting the second week, May 9th, we're going to start the summer schedule. That's going to be 6 days a week, mock draft Monday, live underdog drafts on Tuesday, draft strategy research on Wednesdays, player breakdowns Thursdays, top 5 list Fridays, and then Saturdays we're going to recap the news that happened last week, look at ADP changes. Gonna be good, gonna be consistent this season. So you're gonna know exactly every single day what type of video is gonna be released. Obviously, I can still change things around a little bit if it's not possible to do a video on a certain day, but for the most part, that's what the schedule is going to look like. Also, remember, have until April 30th to sign up for any package on the website. You're gonna get 20% off using promo code FFA. That's a way for me to reward those of you who have been here for a while. And I can promise you that there is more information this season than there has been in previous years. The draft strategy articles alone are going to be worth the price of admission. And that's only part of what's added on to features that have already existed in the past. So again, promo code FFA, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. Got to use it before April 30th, or yes, on April 30th, before May 1st. So without further ado, let's go over the most impactful offseason news around the NFL in the AFC West. Usually, I do both AFC and NFC in these videos, but I was making the AFC West and there was so much news that I didn't want to make just an hour-long video here. So we're going to do the AFC West. We're going to break that down. On Wednesday, we'll do the NFC West. So first team up, Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, their massive news is trading away Tyreek Hill. He was obviously their most important offensive player behind Patrick Mahomes. It was Mahomes, then Hill, then Kelsey in my eyes. I guess you could argue Kelsey is more important, but just in terms of what Tyreek Hill opens up for an offense, what he allows them to do, I think he was the second most valuable player on that team. So they're going to have to try and fill that void. They've done so far, tried to fill the void, not actually filled it, but they've tried to so far, adding MVS, adding Juju. Those are going to help, right? When you combine all these players, each one can do a little bit of what Tyreek Hill can do. You already had Mecole Hardman, so add him with MVS. Well, there's your deep threat, right? So at least attacking defenses deep downfield. Juju, well, he can operate, in the short intermediate area of the field. You already have Kelsey operating in the middle of the field. So they can make up for the loss with a little bit of multiple players. But it's definitely going to hurt. And if we even saw last season at times that the Chiefs' offense didn't look as incredible as it had in previous seasons, take Tyreek Hill away, I think we're going to see a lot more of those games happen. Of course, they're still going to attack the position in the draft. I don't personally know how early they're going to do it because I think they feel good having Juju, MVS, and Mecole Hardman. I don't know that they necessarily need to go out there and spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver, but you got to think that they want to win, right? And with how competitive you're going to see, how competitive this division is becoming, they're going to need someone, right? They simply don't have enough on offense right now to say, oh, we're definitely, the favorites in this division. So I think they're going to go out and they're going to draft someone early at the wide receiver position. Whoever that does end up being, we're going to like. And depending on who that is, that's going to impact how much we like the players I just mentioned. Mecole Hardman, Juju, and MVS. Current take is that I'll probably like Juju the most. He'll have the most stable, consistent role in the offense. And while it won't come with a downfield, part, I just think that you're going to prefer those guys in best ball. You're going to prefer Mecole Hardman, MVS in best ball. They're going to be very frustrating to own season long. But again, we'll see who they end up signing. Their other big move, of course, was Ronald Jones, new backup running back now. Clyde has been a bust so far, and I do think that Ronald Jones, he has the fumbling issues, he has the pass blocking issues. Those are going to be an issue on any team. How much of an issue does depend on the coaching staff, but that's still a problem. He's not going to beat out Clyde for 100% of the workload, and he can't catch either. So that's a problem. But I think he's good enough to command an early down role, and so I think that there's a chance Ronald Jones has a decent amount of carries, has a large red zone role on still what'll be a very good offense. I know I said they might regress, but like they're still a very, very good offense. And like I said, Clyde has kind of been a bust so far. So I think that he's going to be a big decision point people have to make in fantasy in like those middle rounds. But again, I have no idea where drafts can take us. That's why I'm pretty excited for early May when we start doing these mock drafts, start doing these live underdog drafts. You guys can draft with me. We can kind of see where are people going, right? Ronald Jones is an incredible pick as a flyer late, but as he works into the middle rounds and you start being like, okay, I kind of need this player to produce, well, what can we expect from him in terms of like consistent production? So we'll see where he ends up going in drafts, but in general, he carries a lot of upside because he's still very talented, just with the obvious risk that, this is Ronald Jones, right? We all know why he could just go out there and do nothing. But yeah, in general, bringing him in is a big move. Losing Tyreek Hill is a big move. This offense isn't going to be as good. And as we'll talk about, this division is really, really good. So next up, Las Vegas Raiders. Their huge move wasn't losing their alpha, it was getting it. They're acquiring Devonta Adams from the Packers, or they have already done so. That's going to give Derek Carr like a true X receiver to work with, right? An incredible complement to Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. Those two are fantastic, but there was a piece missing last season, right? They thought that, and I thought that Bryan Edwards could fill that role, could develop into a really good number one outside wide receiver. That did not happen. Maybe he can be an okay number 3 receiver, but like at this point, it doesn't really seem like it's going to work out with him. And so they bring in, I would say, arguably the best wide receiver in football. I mean, you could probably argue other players, but I would say a top 3 wide receiver in football in Adams. That's a true number 1. That is someone you bring in there, and every single team needs to shift coverage towards him. And I think that just unlocks so much for this offense. Instead of having games where teams are basically just looking at Darren Waller being like, well, if we slow him, they need to like slowly move down the field with Hunter Renfrow, and they don't really have anyone else, especially when they lost Ruggs. We can beat this team, right? Now you're like, okay, we need to double Adams, or at least we need to have like help on that side, like coverage shifted over there. What are we leaving open? Are we leaving Darren Waller open in the middle of the field? Are we letting Hunter Renfrow operate on like linebackers from the slot? Like, how are we defending this, right? And they still have Josh Jacobs, really good, talented running back as well, who they should use more in the receiving game. So I think this is a very dangerous offense. Derek Carr, of course, isn't an elite quarterback, but like I think people think he's worse than he is. I mean, he had over 4,800 passing yards last season. I know they had the extra game, but it was like 280 plus passing yards per game. That's really good. Over 67% completion percentage in 4 straight years. Like, he's a good quarterback. There's no debating Derek Carr's a good quarterback. An elite quarterback, no. Good quarterback, yes. When you start a good quarterback with this much talent, this is a good offense. So I think they're going to take a huge step forward this season. There'll be a lot of touchdowns to go around. I think the big question is, where are people drafting? This is why these mock drafts are going to be so fun to do. Where are people drafting Darren Waller now, especially coming off a busted season? Where are people drafting Hunter Renfrow, coming off a season where he started slow, but then just like dominated for like a huge chunk of time? It was incredible. But now they have Adams, so where do you put him? So I think that'll be interesting to see. My guess right now is Waller's going to go in like the 4th round. Renfro's probably going to go in like the middle rounds. I don't know if that's going to be somewhere in like the 5 through 7 range. I'm really not sure, but I think he'll be a popular pick, after the elite wide receivers are off the board. He'll be one of the very first taken after that, because people know, I mean, he's clearly very good, and he's clearly going to be in single coverage a lot, but Adams is going to take a ton of targets, so the targets come way down. So very interesting off season that they've had. It's going to be a lot of fun breaking them down, but we kind of need to see where people end up going for this team. Next up, Los Angeles Chargers, who made probably the fewest moves of any team in the division, though it's kind of because they didn't need to, right? They're a really, really good offensive team. They didn't really need to make very many moves. Still have Eckler, Kelly, and Roundtree. I don't really think they're going to change that up very much. That's at the running back position, obviously. So if Keenan Allen signed Mike Williams to an extension, Palmer, Guyton, so same wide receivers, obviously still have Justin Herbert. The one big change is tight end. That was a position after they lost Hunter Henry. They never really figured out. They kind of rotated like 3-4 different tight ends. Never really used one person. I think they're probably just going to use Gerald Everett the most this season. 2 years, $12 million contract. The thing is, like, just look at the offense. Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. That is a huge chunk of the offense right there. So, yes, this is like a good landing spot if you're Gerald Everett because you're playing with Justin Herbert, right? In a division where they're going to need to score points because they're playing a bunch of other really good teams. It's a good landing spot. It's just that like so much of the production goes to like those three that like how many like spiked weeks is he going to have? He'll probably need to have like multi-touchdown games, and it's going to be frustrating being like, okay, when's the 2-touchdown game coming? When's the like 6 for 16 a touchdown coming? Difficult to know. So another player that maybe use in like best ball leagues. But yeah, I think he's going to be a trendy sleeper this season. Don't think he's going to end up being a tight end 1. Other than that, not too much. The team itself is really, really good, but as far as like fantasy is concerned, it's a very, very similar offense we saw last season, which is really good for fantasy. Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, all going to be studs. Obviously Herbert as well. And again, Everett late. Final team in the AFC West is the Denver Broncos, who made a massive move this offseason, trading for Russell Wilson. They've obviously been struggling, at quarterback in recent seasons, so it was pretty clear last year they wanted to do something, didn't end up making a big move, but they were clearly trying to get an elite quarterback last season, finally make the move this season, get Russell Wilson. I cannot stress enough how impactful that'll be in fantasy. Like, this is the exact same thing we were talking about last offseason when I said Goff to Stafford. Like, it might not seem like it, but when you make these moves from like highly mediocre quarterbacks to, I don't know if I want to call Stafford an elite quarterback, but I want to call Russell Wilson an elite quarterback, right? So when you just make the move from average to really, really good at the quarterback position, it changes the whole offense. It allows so many more things to be done. It allows spike seasons like we saw with Cooper Kupp. Now, I do not think that Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton are going to have a season like Cooper Kupp. And I do not think we can just draw a comparison and say, oh, these are the new DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Okay? But I think that their spikes are going to be really, really, really good games. I think that their floors are going to be much higher. And they have wide receiver 1 ceilings. Will they be ranked as wide receiver 1s? I'd find that very unlikely. But they're going to be players we want in fantasy because Russell Wilson is a huge upgrade over Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, right? No matter what you think of Wilson, if you think he is an elite quarterback, you think he's better or worse than Stafford, I don't think any of that actually matters. You just have to think, how much better is he than Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock? And the answer is a lot better. So this offense is going to be really, really good, and they're going to have a much higher floor and a much, much higher ceiling. Like, some of these games might be really, really fun to watch. Like a Chargers and Broncos game, Chiefs Broncos games, like they're going to be so fun to watch. Even Raiders Broncos games, like, and we get to watch each of them twice. It's going to be this is a fun division to watch. Really, really exciting for fantasy. We're going to be breaking down this division in a lot of videos this season. Other move, well, same move actually. If we look at the Wilson trade, that involved giving up Noah Fant, and so that is not like, a huge chunk of the offense. It wasn't like he was out there with like a 25% target share or anything. But he was an important part of the offense, right? So if you remove him, it just consolidates it a little bit more. A lot of people and a lot of sites out there really want to put Albert O high in the rankings, and I can understand that. I saw one site had Albert O like 5th as a dynasty tight end. I think people are getting a little bit too excited too early. If we get into the final week of August, and he is still clearly the tight end 1, okay, I'll be excited. We have a long ways to go. We have a draft. We have still free agents could sign. Still trades could happen. Like, things can happen where Albert O is not the clear number 1 tight end. And for people to just assume that this is, he's just going to step in, he's going to be Noah Fant. Like, Noah Fant was still in a very high-end prospect. Albert O's a high-end prospect. He's very athletic. He's someone that we're very excited about. I just think that, like, given the production that we've seen from him so far, it's not like he's, been dominant for multiple seasons. He's been, like, fine when they use him, but he hasn't broken out or anything. I think people are just assuming he's going to break out. He's going to get the looks. They're not going to bring anyone else in. And that is a big assumption to make. So I have a feeling I'll be below consensus. But regardless, if we're just talking about redraft leagues, there's no way anyone is ranking Albert O as like a tight end 1 right out of the gates. At least I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe they will. But as we work through summer, just move them up, basically. As they don't make moves, if we get positive reports, I'm going to start them a little bit lower. And then as we gain confidence, I'm going to move them higher and higher in the rankings. I caution in Dynasty because one move can just tank his stock. And I just think people are maybe drafting him a little bit too early. The other big piece right now is Melvin Gordon. He is a free agent right now. He has been talking with the Ravens, and he's been talking, of course, returning to the Broncos. That, of course, has a massive impact on Javonte Williams, right? If Melvin Gordon leaves, Javonte Williams is a first-round pick, right? This offense is going to be so much better. This defense is going to be solid. Of course, they lose, Von Miller, but this isn't like a trash defense, right? The defense is good enough to where this team's going to win games. This team's going to be up late. This team's going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns. If we have Javonte Williams as a featured running back in this offense, oh my goodness, the upside is incredible, right? So very, very excited about that potential. But then if Melvin Gordon returns, we should probably just expect basically what we saw last season. Now, we'd expect a little bit more like what we saw towards the end of last season when it was a little bit more towards Williams, but it's going to be close to a split. Obviously, that's frustrating, but it's a good enough offense where we're still like both of them. And then if someone got hurt, it would still be the upside for the other. But man, if Melvin Gordon leaves and joins the Ravens, we're going to be so excited about this offense because it consolidates the running backs. We already know the wide receivers are fairly consolidated between Judy, Sutton, and Tim Patrick. All three really good receivers. This is a good offense. And I'm very excited about the impact that Russell Wilson's going to make over what they had before. So, those are the biggest moves in the AFC West, a division that's going to be very fun to watch this season and very competitive, largely because of all these moves they've made over the offseason. I will be back on Wednesday. We will do the NFC West. I think it'll be a shorter video because not as much happened there, but we'll try and break down maybe some players leaving in that division, how it's going to impact things in fantasy for those teams. And then you probably won't see another video until May 2nd. Again, traveling a bit, but then also I want to write the wide receiver draft strategy article. Running back one's already up. You can read that if you want. But I want to write the wide receiver one. I want to try and finalize the dynasty content over draft weekend. So one more video on Wednesday. Then I'll be back after the draft, and we will finally get in to the off-season content that I am very, very excited for. Remember, have until April 30th to use promo code FFA and get 20% off any package on the site. There is more content than I've ever produced on the site this season, and some of it you will not find on any other platform. So check that out if you haven't done so already. But that, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button, and how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.